Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, August 13. If you're watching live on Verizon or Optimum Cable TV, you can pick up a live webcast, and within a few days you can go to pctv76.org and pick up an on-demand webcast bookmarked by category so that you can jump to a subject that was of particular interest. Our next meeting is 2 weeks from today, which is Monday, August 27, work session at 7 p.m. and a regular session at 8 p.m., just as tonight. A couple of announcements to make. The first is the fire department was the site of a blood donor drive, and it was an extremely successful event on August 8, collecting 92 units of whole blood and red cells, well above the 70 units they expected. So thanks to the fire department, to the community blood drive, to all the folks that participated to make that a success. We've been rumbling over all these crummy streets with plates in the street as Con Ed has been undertaking this gas main project on Marble Avenue and in Bedford. And there's light at the end of this tunnel, Eric?
There is, finally.
What's the schedule looking like?
It should be completed by Labor Day. And then, of course, we launch into the repaving.
So subsequent immediately to
Right.
that?
Yes,
Or, okay.
that's the game plan.
So the entire length of Marble Avenue, from our corner by Jean-Jacques all the way to the Four Corners in Thornwood, is going to be completely repaved. We thank Senator Murphy and County Legislator Kunzio for assisting in making that happen. But for obvious reasons, that was held up because Con Ed was going to dig up the whole thing for this gas main project. So sometime towards the end of October, will it be smooth sailing?
We are hopeful. That's the game
That's
plan.
cautious.
Right. We just got the news from Con Ed that they'd be finished by
Yes.
Labor Day.
Let the record show
Yes.
Administrator Morrissey was cautious in his promises.
And then also toward Briarcliff, that's all going to get repaved as well, in front of,
That has been repaved.
oh, it has.
I
All right.
drove
It tells
over
you
it
how
yesterday.
long
Yes.
how often I'm on the train
All
these
right.
days.
We've got a bunch of folks from Pleasantville Recycles here, but a big shout out to Pleasantville Recycles for their extraordinary success at the Pleasantville Music Festival, producing the ever improving Zero Waste Festival goal. They diverted a record amount of stuff from the waste stream this year. Compostable materials in 2015, they collected 440 pounds at the music festival. 2016, 720 pounds. 2017, 1,880 pounds. 2018, just a month ago, 3,740 pounds. So, as their notice said, thanks to all that make this happen. We look forward to doing even better next year. It's a record of accomplishment that kind of boggles the mind. And there's got to be a limit to how many times you can double your success, but if anyone can do it, these folks can do it. So for those of you here who were involved in that, thank you, and for all of those, Sharon Avrutik being one of the key players, an extraordinary effort and very, very much appreciated. Farm Market continues to rock and roll every Saturday morning from 8:30 to 1. I wanted to mention that we have a discussion tonight and some movement on the community choice aggregation project that you may have paid attention to a couple of years ago, which involved the village and I think 17 other municipalities joining under the umbrella of Sustainable Westchester to essentially buy power in bulk and produce lower rates. The contract for that is coming due, and so Sustainable Westchester is going to be in the business of gathering the communities that wish to remain involved and those that wish to join who perhaps weren't involved, and then put out to bid again for fixed rate power for electricity, both a all green source as well as a mixed quote unquote brown source. I think further discussion on our board, but we're I think very likely to participate in that again. I will say one caveat on that is I got at my home a couple of weeks ago one of these direct mail pieces that has been designed to have the look of some sort of an official mailing, and it was an invitation for me to sign on to an all-green power source through another ESCO, an alternative energy supplier. But when you read the small print, the kilowatt hour rate was nearly double the kilowatt hour rate that's a fixed contract in the community choice aggregation. So I suggest that folks who get mail of that kind read it carefully and compare to the alternatives they have elsewhere. If you're interested in the results of the community choice aggregation thus far, you can go to westchesterpower.org, where all that info is available. I did want to mention a bunch of folks have asked me about the renovation at Key Food, which was a discussion that arose a few times in the discussion about the plastic bag ban. And I can report that Key Food has all their permits pulled, and they have begun work on what they anticipate to be a full renovation of the store and a modest expansion in a couple of different small directions. So appreciate that good news and look forward to good results. Anybody else have announcements to make? Okay. With that, welcome Dan Turner from Pleasantville Recycling to introduce a discussion about food scrap recycling.
Thank you. And yes, it is my pleasure to introduce Michelle Sterling and Ron Schulhoff from the Scarsdale program, the Food Scrap Recycling Program. They were kind enough to invite us down to their facility to take us through a little bit about what they're doing. We were mightily impressed with the program. I think you're going to be piqued, your interest will be piqued here, and we hope you're impressed as well. So without any further ado, Michelle and Ron.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Hello.
I'm Ron. This is Michelle.
Hello.
We're both Scarsdale residents. We co-chair the Town Sustainability Committee. And in January 2017, we launched with our village a food scrap recycling program. So everything we're going to talk about tonight is a municipal program that was run in partnership with the volunteers as well as the village. And what we'll do is we'll walk you through the program from the resident side, the operations side, the financial piece, and what's happened around the rest of the county since January 2017. Now, before we get into the details, just what is food scrap recycling? So we call it food scrap recycling because that's what it is. It's just like recycling bottles, cans, paper. It's about taking food scraps, which normally go in the trash, and end up in an incinerator, and taking the resource, which food scraps are, and making something beneficial with them. In our case in Westchester, we make compost out of it. But that's why we call it a recycling program. It's just like years ago, before we all had curbside bottle and can and paper recycling, it often went in the trash. That's where we are today with food scraps, and it's just really taken off. So I'm going to hand it over to Michelle, who's going to walk you through the resident side of it. She might go up. We might go up there if that's all right, because it's very picture heavy and interactive.
Sure, just
Should I take this?
Bring the
that
mic with
off
you.
off the stand, and you got enough.
I'll
leash
stay here
there.
and do the computer,
Yeah.
and we'll switch off.
Yeah, it goes the right way.
And just one more thing is like the three main pieces of this is that it's very easy to do, easy on the resident side, easy operationally, it's very inexpensive, and this is the three things are in no particular order. It's also a great thing to do for residents, gives them an opportunity to really engage in sustainable behavior, and also it's a great thing to do, obviously, for our environment. So you guys are familiar with this because Pleasantville just had your big festival, so you did thousands of pounds. You guys are familiar with the concept to do it on a large scale. So we're just going to run you through how we do it on the resident side and operationally in terms of our DPW. So here's our site. We have a recycling center that the public can enter. We basically took a couple of parking spots. This is what we had available. So since we started in January 2017, 10 other towns in Westchester have started. One town didn't have any parking spots. So Rybrook put it in front of their village hall. Greenberg didn't have a recycling center that really they were able to put this in. So they put this in their town park, in an area in their town park. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat, but this is our basic setup. So you have the recycling bins. People can just drive up. They pop their food scraps in there. We have it well marked with the sign. And one thing just to note, and I'm sure Ron will say this later, but just to stress that everything you see here, we've made it turnkey and we're just giving it away. So you want the RFP for the bins or the contract for the bins, you want our PowerPoint of the sign. You know, all the other 10 towns, we just gave them our PowerPoints, gave them our stuff. No
Can you
point
give us
to.
the parking spaces?
I know. That's what we really need. I know. So you guys will not be using parking spaces. Okay. So you can flip to the next. So here's what a food scrap recycling starter kit looks like. You get a countertop pail. It's a 2-gallon pail. A roll of compostable liner bags. So the difference between compostable and biodegradable. Compostable means plant-based. So those bags are made out of cornstarch. They'll turn into food right along with the food that goes in them. So the liner bag lines the countertop pail. The resident puts the food in there. And then when it's full, they tie it up and they put it into that larger bin, which is a locking bin. We call it the storage and transportation bin. So that's the bin that you take, you put into your car, and you bring it to the drop spot. Because this thing will fill up in a couple of days, but that bin will hold about 4 or 5 of those bags. So about a week's worth for an average family. And that's the whole thing. And then you drive up with that bin to the slide before to that green bin. So I know Peter's been to our site, and your DPW head, and Eric, you came too. So you've seen it all, but that's how it works. One really important thing to note though, so you guys might be familiar with backyard composting. So in a backyard composting system, you can just put in pure vegetarian fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, and eggshells, but this system can take all food. So meat, bones, fish, dairy, fats, oils, bread, rice, pasta, all those things you can't put in a backyard bin, you can put into this system. And also 3 kinds of paper products. So tissues, napkins, and paper towels, or they're called soft paper or end-of-life paper products. Those can't be recycled with paper recycling. They don't have enough pulp. But because they come from nature, they can go in here. So basically the rule of thumb is anything from nature can go in here. So bamboo chopsticks, wooden popsicle sticks, wax paper, parchment paper. And we find, people that participate find actually, that once they do this program, they have very, very little trash. Because if you recycle and you put all your food and paper products in here, you're really, only thing that's going in your trash bin are like your Ziploc bags and wrappers.
Just want to add one thing about
Yeah.
the starter kit. So the village sells these starter kits. They buy them in bulk and they sell them to residents. And why is it important to do that? And we highly recommend you do that. The first is, if you buy it in bulk, you can get this whole thing for $20 and then sell it to your residents very cheaply. If you go on Amazon, those 2 bins are about $50. They're really nice bins. They're expensive when you buy them individually. The second piece is you want people to have a really good experience, a positive experience with this. Michelle and I tested about 10 different small pails, about 10 different large pails, and about 10 different brands of compostable bags for a year.
Almost got me a divorce.
Right.
Very bad.
We have different spouses that were not so happy about it.
Testing pails with like for weeks and weeks on end. Like, let me see how long I can keep meat in a pail on my counter.
But it's important because if you just send somebody to an online place, for example, they might not get the best one. And this one, you can see here, has a latch. So this one locks as well, and this snaps shut tight. You have some that really don't snap shut, some that don't look as nice, some that aren't as durable. So you want people to have that tested pail. The other nice thing that you guys get to say is if somebody says, well, will it smell? Will there be bugs? You can say 1,000 people in Scarsdale, and 500 in Larchmont, and in Greenberg have been using this for 2 years now and are having a great experience with it. And so you can stand on the shoulders of other communities and say, nope, it works. People had to take our word in the beginning, but it's really nice to have that now.
Is that your sticker on the front, or does the
Yep,
thing
so
come with that?
this is our sticker, which you can have again. You can have our sticker. You can have the guide. So all the other towns, the 10 other towns, they just put their village on there, their logo. So you can just have the PowerPoint, use it. We have it in 4 languages. We've had residents not kindly translate it into Mandarin, Japanese, and Spanish. So you can have it in all the languages. Just one other thing on the fact that it's for sale. We actually purposely charge for it. We don't want people to think of it as swag. Like, this isn't just a bin that you just get from the town and then people do whatever with it. So we want to know that when people buy it, even though it's only $20, that they're going to do it and that they're going to use it, and literally they're invested in it. And I know that some other towns have said, well, maybe we can get a grant and give them away. And sure, you can get grants for some things, but don't use a grant for this. We really want people, we don't want this to be swag. We really want people to say, yep, I want to do it, and here you go. So this is just a picture of someone using it. It's actually my friend's daughter, so you can see, she lines the pail, puts it in, and just really easy to use. That's basically it. So this is my daughter, actually. So just dropping it in. So again, right now in that first picture, you saw just one bin up in the front, but as the program got more popular, we realized we need to have more bins up front. So now we have actually 5 bins up front. And you can see here we have different kinds of bins. We were the first town to do it. We tested a lot of different kinds of bins. We're now going with one type of bin, an organics bin, which Ron will talk about later, which we found to be the best bin. So you guys are getting, version 501 here. This is 101. But this is basically the resident experience, right? They collect in the kitchen, tie it up, they bring their bucket, and then they dump it out. So just a little bit. You want to do this piece?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks. So a resident's dropped off now. They've driven back home, they have their clean toter, and they're back collecting for the next week. So what does it look like from the operation side? So Michelle mentioned we want to make sure this is easy for residents. It also had to be easy for our DPW. So this is what the setup looks like. You saw those other bins, but this is the bin we use now. Why is this important? These are organics bins. These are made for food scraps. So they are bright green, so it's easier to tell they're not for trash. They have thicker walls, so that way in the winter, when food, which has a lot of water, can freeze and bulge, it holds them. They're latched on the top. They also are fully sealed. So where this tip bar is here, and on the wheels in the back, sometimes bins actually have holes there. And that's fine for regular trash, but when you have food, you want that thing to be fully sealed. You don't want any liquid coming out. You don't want any smells coming out. So all of these are made specifically for food. So what it looks like day to day. So what it looks like day to day is the DPW leaves a bunch of bins empty in the back, and we now bring about 5 up front. And the reason that they wheel a few up is that way these fill up, then they get taken off to the side over here, and they're not opened again until pickup day. So if you're a resident coming to drop off, you don't have 20 bin lined up, and you might open one that somebody dumped some food in 5 days ago. You're opening up a bin that has been rotated in that morning, so it's a pleasant experience for the homeowner. Once these are closed up and moved to the side, you don't have any smell. For those of you that have been there and have been there in the summer, and we love to give tours in August and July, we give the tour right here. And they're usually 45 minutes of standing next to these bins. And there's no smell, there's no animals, there's no bugs. You guys can attest to that. And part of that reason is we don't have a big dumpster sitting here. You don't want a dumpster. You want bins that get tied up, that get closed, get latched up, and moved to the side. The ones you're seeing here are 32 gallons. We've actually moved to a slightly larger size. So we didn't want them sitting full for too long, so we went with 32. We found the program got so popular so fast that we moved to 64. We tried 96. Those were a little too heavy to move because their food is heavy. So we settled on 64, which is actually this size back here, but in the green bin. So this is all that the DPW is doing day to day. We do not have anybody staffing it 24 hours, volunteers or staff. They come by a couple times during the day, wheel up, if these are full, wheel up new bins, and then they wheel them over. And then on pickup day, we do line these because we don't require anybody to use a compostable bag. 98% of people do. It's clean, it's easy, but we don't require it because we don't want there to be an impediment for anybody to participate. So if they don't want to, they don't have to. So we line that for that case. So just a little bit on the metrics. So we started in January of 2017. To date, we've collected over 300,000 pounds of food scraps just in Scarsdale, just from the municipal program. We, on average now, are about 2 tons a week, or 4,000 pounds. Since starting, we have 1,000 homes out of about 5,500 in Scarsdale that have signed up and are participating. And we even have some residents, we don't require you to buy that starter kit. If you want to use a bin you did find on Amazon, or if you want to just use something, a yogurt container, that's fine. People that are going to do that know what they're getting into. So we do have some residents that are just doing that, which we don't even have in those metrics. So it's just been a fantastic, amazing start since January 2017 to this program. This has been a municipal program, a DPW program, a sanitation program that is voluntary. All these people are signing up. In Scarsdale, we get twice a week back of driveway trash pickup. So all of these people were saying, instead of just putting my food in the trash, I'm going to drive it over once a week to the recycling center. And it's just a testament to how much people will do this. And it's not just our community. It's in Larchmont, it's in Mamaroneck, it's in Greenberg, it's in Bedford, it's in Chappaqua, and they're seeing the same results. So I'll just talk a little bit about expenses. So there are 3 types of expenses for this program. So we talked about making it easy for the residents, making it easy for this village administration. It also needed to be easy on our budget. So the startup expenses are those toters you saw, those large bins, and that big sign. That was about $2,000, $1,500, $2,000. Our operating expenses are for the most part the pickup and the hauling. So
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh.
The toters, those are the collecting bins?
Yes,
Okay.
those big
The
green
green
bins.
ones, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The pickup and the hauling, it is $400 per month for weekly pickup. So that's where your main expense is. They come once a week. We also line them, so we have an expense for the liners, and we do some outreach and publicity. The vast majority of outreach and publicity is done by our volunteers, and Michelle will talk about that. But we do do a compost give back day, Michelle will talk about, where we buy some of the compost back. These 2 pieces, this is your village expense. This is your startup, this is your annual. This bottom piece here is what the village outlays to buy those starter kits, but then they're reimbursed as residents buy them. So we just use an example number here of 600 based on your size. That's sort of what we would say to buy. So you're buying all the pails. The caddy is that medium-sized green bin. The guide, the roll of bags. So all of that would come out to be about $11,000 that the village is just outlaying, and then you receive back as residents buy. The village also sells those compostable bags. And the important part of doing that is, again, you get it much cheaper. It's about half the price than if you go online to buy it. You also know that people are buying the right bag, that it's compostable, not biodegradable, or they're using plastic. And it just makes it much easier for them to participate. So again, what we do is we buy about a 3-month supply at a time. People come and buy them, and then we just buy more as needed. And all of these prices and these contracts, as part of the negotiation, anybody else can piggyback off of them. So the price that we got, that we negotiated down, you just have them, and they'll honor those prices.
Do you sell them at your DPW yard or at town hall, or how does it work?
We sell the bags and the kits at our DPW yard. There was somebody that was already there doing, it is an active yard not just for residents, so contractors come in, and we also, that's where our recycling gets picked up. Greenberg sells it at a park. They also sell it at Village Hall. We would suggest whatever is convenient. So definitely, if possible, at the recycling yard. Village Hall seems also a convenient place. And what we do is we just have a sign-up sheet. And so residents can come in, they just write down their name and their info. They can just write down on file if they're already participating, and then what they're getting, and then they can just buy them there.
And the hauler that comes to pick them up, is that the same contractor for most of these municipalities?
So it is, does not have to be.
Yep.
There is more than one hauler. You know, we went to bid. We did an RFP for this. We'll share that RFP with you. We'll share who came back to it. If you can get a better price, that's fine. What's most important is the specs of the RFP, is that they come in an organics truck that's fully sealed. You don't want that truck coming in and spilling things. That they come every week. That they don't call you up and say, oh, we can't make it there that week. There are certain haulers that already are picking up food scraps. So in addition to all these municipal programs, there's 40 schools in Westchester that have compost programs. There's a number of houses of worship, number of private institutions do it now, supermarkets and office buildings. So they basically have a big milk run around Westchester. They have a day where they drive from north down to south and back up and pick everybody up the same day.
And the composting, I think I heard, takes place further north, further upstate. Is that correct? Or where's the location of the actual?
So currently,
Yeah.
it gets taken to Ulster County, which is the
Okay.
nearest compost facility. But we're going to talk about sort of the future plans and what we're trying to work on and why it's so important for municipalities to get on board and help to get something more local. But
Okay.
right now it goes to Ulster County. Yep.
Okay.
And so Michelle's going to talk about how we got those 1,000 people, that the outreach.
Yeah, and actually, it's more than 1,000 people because it's 1,000 homes. We have 5,500 homes, so it's 1,000 homes. So it actually ends up being thousands of people. And what's nice actually about our community, we had a strong recycling team, and Pleasantville also has a strong community-based, resident-based recycling team, and that's really key to getting to the outreach and getting people signed up. So what we don't do is what New York City does. So New York City, they have an organics program. They go up to an apartment building, 100 apartments with a big truck, and they just dump 100 bins in front of the truck with the doorman and 100 flyers and say, here you go. So that's something we never do, never would do. It's not our model, and we would never recommend it. What we do is we have a team, boots on the ground, ground force, doing community outreach, not just saying to people, hey, why don't you sign up? But then when they do sign up, when they say they're interested, we explain to them what goes in the pail, what doesn't go in the pail. And, between Ron and I and some other volunteers, we've given this spiel a lot of times about what does and doesn't go in. But it's really important that every single person that gets a kit gets that spiel so they know how to do it. And the key to that really is that so that in the end, we have clean compost. So you'll see places, you'll hear about these stories, about these facilities with contamination, and it's like half trash going in there and all that. So, I'm sure the same thing with your music festival where you have tons of volunteers, buy those bins, making sure that, that's so important for that. It's just like it is for this. But obviously, we can't stand over people in their homes, but we do make sure that every person that gets a kit, that they're going to do it and that they know how to do it. We call it the what, how, why. We also like to let them know why they're doing it. Why it's better to do this than incinerate. Why it's better, that food is 90+% water, right? And that Westchester, most people don't know, Westchester's 100% incineration town. So we're essentially throwing water on a fire up there in Peekskill at our incinerator. Why that doesn't make sense. Even if it's a waste energy facility, by putting water on a fire, you're actually decreasing anything that gets produced there. And people say, well, why not down the garbage disposal? So we explain what it does to your pipes. We explain what happens at the wastewater treatment plants and where the outflow goes and what, excess nitrogen does in our water stream. So we really try and explain to people, to the extent that they can absorb, why it's better to recycle than to dispose through our various means of disposal. So you can't really expect, a municipal force, that has, a municipal DPW that has, not that much staff to be out there on the ground doing this. You need to have your outreach and your team of resident volunteers doing that. And what's so nice about this town is that you've got those people. So you guys are way ahead of the game and having people who are interested and understand it and want to make it happen and who can do that outreach for you. So this sort of goes through a lot of the things that we did in terms of outreach. We do, presentations at schools. We do a lot of school programs. We go to a lot of town events, Rotary clubs, Junior League. We basically presented a ton of town events, houses of worship. We just let everybody know what's happening. And then we have your regular print media. We have banners up. We also have a compost give back day. So once a year, a lot of people ask, well, what happens to it and can I get it? So once a year, we send our largest truck. It holds 15 yards, and we send our largest truck. We bring back 15 yards, and we have our free compost give back day. And it's for people, not just for people who are participating, but for anyone, any resident. Because we want people who are participating to see this black, rich compost and tell them this came from your compost, from your food scraps. But even for the people who aren't participating, we want to show them this could have been from your food. And so at the compost give back day, we get probably we've had 2 now so far, and we get 100 homes at each one, both times. So it's a really good way to do outreach. So this is, what we explained. This is the why, why we're doing it. We're closing the loop here. We're going from food scraps to residents drop off. Actually, here's a good picture of somebody just taking his bin, pulling up, taking his bin, dumping it in, how it turns into compost and creates more food. And we explain to people that this is what sustainability is, living in a closed loop to the extent that we can. We explain to people, whether it's our food or the cotton that we wear or the metal of our jewelry, we are pulling resources from the earth. And only if we try and put back, hopefully an equal amount, do we close that loop and try and live sustainably. And that's what we're all seeking to do here. So we explain that to people, and it keeps people going. So here's where we are right now. So kind of fast forward to even beyond when you guys visited us. So we were from January 2017 until 2018, we were a curbside drop-off, and then our town board approved a curbside pickup program. So we now have weekly curbside pickup. Believe it or not, a lot of people do still use the drop spot. Some people like bringing it. Some people have overflow, and some people are just haven't, caught on to the curbside pickup.
How does that work? Are the curbside pickups going into
Yep.
these green bins that
Yes.
are on a truck?
Yeah, so the way it works is that you put that same bin, and we have a larger one that we offer now too.
Your travel bin?
You have the travel bin, the green one that you saw, and we have a larger one that we offer too, because a lot of residents requested a larger one. They were saying that was too small for them. You put that to your curb once a week, and the DPW picks it up in a truck. And that same truck that goes around in the loop and picks up from all the homes, the 1,000 homes that are doing it, they also hook onto those toters. They tip those toters into the truck as well. And that Scarsdale truck drops it off at the site of the carting company that used to pick up from our drop spot.
In Ulster County?
So we take it to their local site. They have a local site in Westchester County. They have a roll-off. I don't know if you know what that is, a large roll-off, where they were consolidating. So that carting company would go around, Ron said, do the milk run all around Westchester County, consolidate all those 40 schools and businesses and towns into a large 30-yard roll-off, and then do that pull once a week to Ulster. So now it's just that we are dumping in the roll-off. They're still doing their same pull once a week to
But does
Ulster.
Scarsdale need to buy a sealed truck?
S-
So usually you want to have all this stuff in a sealed
Yep.
container.
Yep.
Did you have to buy a special truck?
Nope, we're using a regular garbage truck.
And we are happy to talk about
Like the
curbside.
crusher? Anything-
We're happy to talk about the curbside program. If you have time, we could explain to you how it's
Just
working.
to give you a sense, so just like we have this presentation, there would be a whole other one for curbside.
Yeah.
We go over all those details.
Well, yeah.
The reason
All right.
we don't put that in here though, is we do recommend to most places, just like in Scarsdale, to start with the drop-offs.
Right, walk before we
Is
run.
To go from nothing
Yes.
to curbside is a major lift, for the board, for the municipality.
We're going to go into people's homes.
You can surpass us.
But, I mean, we wanted to include this really more just to really tell you where we are now.
Well, I do have a question about that because we have residents who are doing fairly complex recycling segregation, right? It's not often easy to know which thing goes in which stream. Have you, because it seems like, if what you're saying is accurate, it seems like there's a significant drop in the waste stream once you do this, right?
Correct.
Have you quantified the financial benefit of that for the town?
So this really, right now, is not a financial savings.
No.
And we don't
Okay.
market it that. Because right now, the town tip fee is subsidized by the county fee. So we're paying... You're in the IMA, right? Right. So we all in the IMA, we're paying $27. Our village is paying $27 a ton, but actually the tip fee up in Peekskill is $77. And that other $50 is coming out of our county taxes. So you guys won't see that
No.
full 77 savings.
That's fine. I'm just saying, I totally get that. But what I'm asking is, there has to be, somewhere along the value chain, there has to be a savings. Has anybody figured out what that is?
Yeah, so the savings is really going to come when Westchester County builds a local facility.
Right.
So the reason is that at Ulster, which is a county-run facility, so they're not running for profit, they're running to do the right thing.
Right.
Their tip fee is $20 a ton to process food scraps. It is very expensive to burn trash not far from here.
Right.
That's where you'll see the savings once Westchester does something locally.
Right.
That is, some time off. In the interim, each year, it is a cost to run this.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'm wondering is, you've gotten, within, 24 months, you've gotten to a fifth of your town. And my background is marketing, so I love what you're doing, going into the houses and actually showing people how to do that. I think that's actually a sort of a missing element in recycling in general. But I don't see why, having had a test bed, you wouldn't go directly to curbside pickup for this and just actually do the same things that you're doing for advocacy and making it voluntary at first, but making it easier, because making it easier usually in all other facets of life makes it more compliant.
Do you mean for us or for you
For
guys?
us.
Part
For
of the
you
problem
guys.
is it's expensive.
Yeah.
We have a whole nother run, more people, got to have trucks that are available, all of that. So
I mean, you have to work through it, but what I'm saying is that you're on the edge for the county of having a solution that actually saves everybody money.
Just
Right.
two things about that. So, we thought about going straight to curbside. We would have liked to go actually straight to curbside. We proposed going straight to curbside. It gets to be much more complex to do that, and then you start to get questions of, well, what's participation? What's it going to look like? There won't be contamination. Now, we've shown that that doesn't happen, so we've solved that piece. The other thing, though, is that you're going to need a drop-off site no matter what. So even with curbside, we're picking up at the drop-off site a ton a week of food scrap. So as Michelle mentioned, some people, they miss their pickup on Monday. They don't want to wait that second week. Some people just like to bring it over, whatever the reason, or they have too much, or they forget to put it out. So let's say you start with a drop-off site. It just goes fantastic. Pleasantville Recycle signs up 20% of the town in the first year. That next step to curbside is much easier. And you've already you had to set up a drop-off site anyway, and now you sort of set it up and you've given your town or village? Village, sorry. Giving your village operations a chance to get that all set up, get used to it. We did find that was very helpful, and that when we started curbside, our DPW was ready to go and just ran very smoothly.
I just wanted to confirm that fifth of the population, that was before you started the curbside pickup, in terms of
Right.
the
Right. Yeah.
participation.
So, I mean, we could give you the metrics from, the first month. We kept the metrics in terms of sign up all along,
Yeah.
but, it just basically steadily grew. So we didn't have a fifth,
Yeah.
on month one, but within, basically the way it works, and this actually goes into what I was going to say is, at the very beginning, you get the people who came here from, Canada or Marin County, the people who were doing this before and were like, I've been waiting for this. And those are your first 200, 300 homes. Then you get the people who are like, oh, this sounds interesting. I really want to be green. I understand about compost. I used to backyard compost, but I couldn't put in everything. And then that's your next couple hundred. But that's only like a small number. And then when you really start getting into the main population, it's people who don't even know what compost is, but it's people who want to do the right thing, want to be green, want to recycle more, and you can explain it and they can get it and then they can get on board. And that's the part of the population we're into now. And so what we did was, in starting with the drop spot, like one of the big benefits of that is it's volunteer, and you develop this base of champions, this base of people who are really into it, those first few hundred homes who are really into it, really want to do it, really get it. And then it just spreads out like a spider web. So it's another nice thing about doing the drop spot, as opposed to just going curbside. And then, that's like a big deal, because you're all of a sudden stopping at a few thousand homes. Everybody's getting this green bin, and, that's a tough thing to do in terms of you're getting this real mix of people, who not everybody exactly knows what they're doing. And, contamination is something you really want to keep your finger on the pulse of that. So you start with a drop spot, you build it up that way. And I mean, we just have absolutely clean compost, meaning, our team, we spend a lot of time up front, explaining to people what goes in and what doesn't, but we don't have to spend any time at the drop spot picking through bins.
No one's
Are you
expecting
finding-
Because we know it's
Exactly
clean.
My question, are you finding that people are not using supermarket bags as their
They
bags?
are not, because
or-
we have explained to everyone with our spiel very, very clearly, because it's confusing. What's biodegradable? What's compostable? We've explained to them, compostable is plant-based. If you get a dyed green bag from a supermarket, That's just a dyed green plastic bag.
What's really cool, so we happen to be there a lot at the recycling center, so we see this a lot. What's really cool is actually some people do use those bags. They line it, or they don't buy a pail and they just bring it in a bag. And what we see is they come there, they dump their food, and then they take their bag and put it in the trash. So they are really aware that they know what they're doing. Now, one point about that is how you set up your drop-off site is important. So the sign, the green bins, but you do need a place for recycling and trash somewhat nearby. You didn't see in our picture, our spot for it was just behind where we took the picture. If you don't have that set up, just put a blue bin, green bin, not a green bin, 2 blue bins for paper, for commingled, and a black bin for trash. Because somebody, if they have that bag, you do want them to be able to drop it off. But
And are you finding, or has your DPW complained at all about the extra work of, for example, I'm assuming periodically these bins need to be washed out. People are just dumping stuff in there without a bag, right? They're dumping their bag out. There's just food in there. And then the carter comes along and picks it up and dumps it into a truck and puts it back down. They don't wash it out. So I'm assuming DPW has to wash it out. Somebody's got to wash them out periodically.
so in summer, you do want to wash them out. In winter, doesn't really matter. In fall, early spring, doesn't really matter because everything is mostly bagged and we line the bigger bags. In summer, you do.
Oh, that's right. You're lining them. So do they dump them or they pull the bags out when the carter?
Oh, it's too heavy to pull the bag out. That whole bin goes on a tipper. The whole thing gets lifted up, and that bag and everything slides out.
So maybe because of the liner bag, maybe it's not as dirty.
And that's
as
why
I
we
would
use
think.
that. That's why we use that liner bag that you saw on those green toters. The DPW requested it. They said, could we line them so we don't have to clean them as often? And we're like, great. I mean, they're compostable bags. So you basically get compostable bag, all those little 3-gallon bags put into a compostable bag. So it keeps it a lot neater. I mean, they still do need to be rinsed out sometimes.
They must rip, they must have, times when they
Yeah, well,
don't hold it all together. Right?
yeah. So they do need to be washed sometimes, but I mean, that's part of the program.
Sure.
On pickup day, you want to have somebody there after pickup day to get some bins ready and to wash them out. So 45 minutes, that kind of time frame. It's not another person.
Plus, maybe I'm assuming that you're saving a little bit on regular trash pickup because there's less trash to pick up. Maybe there's a little bit of time saved on trash pickup. I don't know.
The guys have definitely noted that, at the homes that have the curbside food scrap bins, that it's lighter.
And
So we'll know when we get all the data, and of course it keeps increasing as we keep getting more signups. But we'll have all that data to give you too when you get there.
And we didn't include in those financial metrics. There is some savings. It's the $27 a ton that we're diverting of trash. So, it's a few $1,000s. It is meaningful in those numbers. We didn't put it in there. We just like to have very conservative metrics when we're presenting to a board.
And your site is open 24/7. It's a location where people.
It is
drive.
not.
It's not.
It is
I mean,
open Monday to Saturday, 8 to 3.
Okay.
That's always when it was open. We just use the same hours. That Saturday day is very important. We have done some tests to track by day. People do come every day. It's okay if it's not open 6 days a week. Mamaroneck and Larchmont, they are not open 6 days a week.
I was wondering about here if we put them in a site where it's not gated, it's not in the DPW yard, maybe it's somewhere else. Would you find that problematic, or did you do it for a reason, or that was just your available spot?
So we had a couple parking spots that we can take there, but just to let you know, even though we say it's Monday to Saturday 8 to 3, there's no gate there. So anybody can ride up anytime and put stuff in the bins. Just
So it is open.
technically it's 8 to 3 that there's staff there, and we've checked it a lot to see what's happening in the bins, and it does look like people might be putting stuff in the bins on off times, but it's always clean because why would somebody go there and put trash in a food bin, especially because we have a trash bin next to it. So we haven't had any issues with that.
We would highly recommend you have a DPW yard.
Right.
Put it in your DPW yard. It's where people can bring other things. Even if it's not staffed, it can be monitored. Somebody's going by. In the cases of Rybrook and Greenberg, they did not have either a yard or a yard that is at all open to the public. So that's why they chose other places. But for example, in Greenberg, they picked a spot that was next to their parks department so they could monitor it. But we would, assuming there's no real huge reason you can't, to site at your DPW yard.
It's really just a circulation issue and a logistics issue.
Yeah.
I think we have
never worked out.
We have
space.
recycling there now anyway.
And it's also, because it's a recycling program, it's what people think of naturally, like they're going to bring their recycling to the yard. And we do like to, this is a recycling program. We actually think of it as the original recycling, right?
I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I'm ready to sign on the dotted line.
Goodbye to the kit.
I know this will come as a shock, but
And we thought we'd
well,
spend an
I
hour
did
trying to
actually have a
convince
couple
Nicole.
of questions that I won't bother going into right now, but you addressed them very well in your presentation. I'm impressed by how thoroughly you have gone through this whole process. I do feel that this is an area in which all of us could really make a step to be more green in a way that recycling, as important as it is, no longer manages to fully address. I was listening to the news this morning, and BBC World News is doing a series on plastic, and they were talking about how 10% of plastic gets recycled. And I feel like this is a way in which we can significantly reduce our waste and as you said, sort of complete that cycle. So just gonna make that little
quality of the compost, you don't find it greasy or smelly. There's meat in there. There's all kinds of
It is the richest, most amazing compost. You should come to one of our compost give back days. The quality of the compost. No, it absolutely goes away, and part of it is because backyard composting is actually also called cold composting. So a backyard compost will go up to a maximum of 120 degrees. Because everybody asks us, how can you put like bones and shells in there? So where we send it to, a commercial composting facility, it's about an acre or two. The piles are 3 stories high, and the insides of those piles get up to 170 degrees. Yeah. So if you put chicken bones or fish shells in there, they literally disintegrate within a day. So all those oils at 170 degrees, which is what they maintain them at a commercial facility, they all get broken down. And the facilities, to maintain their certification, they have all kinds of testing that goes on, testing for everything. We've analyzed.
Turn it, right?
They turn it. So it's basically they bring the food in, they mix it with wood chips,
Right.
and they aerate it and keep it to an optimum aeration level and optimum moisture level.
Do they add microbes and stuff like that?
Nope,
I know
they
some of
occur
these are more
naturally.
You mentioned Canada.
They
That's what I'm
take
more
the
familiar with.
old compost
Oh, so they
and they
that
mix
in.
it into
Right,
the
so
new
they
compost.
Are,
It's
they
like
are
yogurt.
in a way.
It's like yogurt.
It's exactly like yogurt.
Sourdough bread.
And what's kind of cool, so you asked about the quality. So if you go to a store and you buy a bag of potting soil or compost, you'll see often there's different price points and different levels. So one of the places that does this, they make and bag for different companies at different levels. The premium one, the one that's the $10 a bag one, that's the one with the food in it.
That's
Yeah.
the Scarsdale.
That's the Scarsdale.
Or Stone
But
Barns does that. I don't know if you've ever bought Stone Barns compost, which is really premium compost.
Right.
They do the same thing. Yeah.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Because the food, if you think, what else can you compost? It's plant waste. It's all the yard waste you guys put out. It's the leaves. Think about an apple core. So we don't eat it, but there's a lot of nutrients left in that. That's going back in there.
Or even in bones. Bones are actually nutritionally dense. So all those things that we're putting in the mix, as opposed to just mixing it with leaves and branches, which makes fine compost, but you're adding in so much more nutrition by adding in the food scraps. So your compost that you're creating from it is far superior than any other compost.
Do you guys find that 15 yards is enough?
It's a good question. So the first time we did it in 2017, so we did it in April, Earth Day of 2017, and we got 5 yards. We thought 5 yards is a lot, right? So 5 yards was gone by 11 a.m. And we had a lot of people still coming. So we then sent the truck out. We did another one the next week. We got another 10 yards, and that was enough. So we actually did, the first year, we actually did back-to-back compost give-back days, which was great, but we learned from it. And so the next time we did it, this year when we did it, April 2018, we got 15 yards. Actually, we got a little more than 15 yards.
And we ran out, and we had to limit people. So we really limited people to that 5-gallon green bucket, because we had people come with, huge things.
55 gallons.
And it was great. We wanted to give them more, and we are, one of the nice things, why we come to other towns and we say, this is all for you to take, and we want others to do this, is one is, if we all do this, we're going to have a greater impact. Mm-hmm. The other piece is sort of that operational piece about those savings and about doing this. So one thing we've started to talk about, which we can tell you our DPW would have never talked about 2 years ago, is figuring out a way with the hauler when they send the truck up full to come back with compost and to have a permanent place where residents can come and pick it up. And, they've bought in so much from our superintendent, who would be happy to, he was at the tour and is always happy to come out, but it's obviously night for him, to our staff that's driving the trucks, that is at the yard. They feel this. They see how much waste, how much food there is, and they really appreciate this. And they see the compost give back day and see all these residents. We got there at about 6:30 in the morning to help set up, and there was a line of cars by 8 o'clock before we even opened, waiting for a compost. It's just one of these programs that everybody feels great about.
Yeah, just to add to that, if Benny, our superintendent, was here, DPW, they don't normally get calls, saying thank you and you guys are great. They get calls saying I didn't get my pickup or whatever, all kinds of complaints. And they will tell you this is the only program where they consistently get calls and emails saying this is the best thing that's ever come to. We are CC'd on some of them sometimes. They're amazing calls and emails from people we don't even know saying we love this program. We feel so good about what we're doing, and we get it. We work on a lot of initiatives in Scarsdale, our environmental committee. So one of the initiatives we work on is we're doing an LED streetlight conversion. People aren't really so involved in LED streetlight conversion. Do they really look up? Do they see it? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But food and food waste is something that people deal with, engage with, every day. That's why it was really important for us to do it at the schools, at houses of worship. Not just to lead to this, but to get people engaged and in touch with how they're living, living in a closed loop. And this is a way for everybody to really to participate and feel it and feel good about it. And they do.
Questions?
Great presentation. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Have him come down. You're welcome to come visit.
Yeah.
We're happy to give you a tour. And just want to leave you with one final parting note about all this. Our goal would be for those metrics to go to zero. Part of this is for people to say, why do I have all this food waste and all this trash? And boy, I just ordered in and I'm throwing it all out. And you'll ask a lot of people and say, you should do this. And they'll be like, I don't have food waste. No, I don't have any in my household. And then they come back 2 weeks later and like, oh my God, I didn't realize how much. And then they'll say, I'm filling up my bin with paper towels and napkins. And we'll say, well, what about a dish towel or cloth? And, yeah, think about that. And they come back and they tell us, I got rid of all my paper towels. And that's really what this is.
Filling up my bin with leftovers. At the end of every week, I'm filling up with my bin. And we say, this is a moment to think about maybe eating your leftovers or maybe cooking less, figuring out portions. So that whole mental shift is something that's really the larger point, one of the larger points of the program. And
I think, you said it before, that to us, we look at all this, and we've talked a lot of details tonight, but we just want to leave taking a step back and say, if we do all this together, this is the original recycling. We can get all this waste out. This is a resource and do something positive with it. And we all support each other in Westchester. By all of us doing it, pushes the county to do something. It pushes local places to do something, private organizations. So we're really excited that you guys are looking at this. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Extremely impressive, and I think we're
Thanks, Dan.
we're gonna.
If I can just add two words here or more. I really, really want to thank Ron and Michelle. They're, I don't know, unique is not, yeah, they're unique. They reached down into their community with a vision that they had, and they've taken that vision and they're sharing it with other communities. What you've done is extraordinary. We thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us And we can feel your passion, and you should really be recognized for the great accomplishment that you're carrying forward here. It's just great. Thank you.
The best recognition is we follow in their wake and
Right.
replicate it. So, thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Before we jump to our exciting resolutions, is there any comment from the public? Anybody want to say anything on any subject? All right. With that, number 178, Nicole.
Resolved that the village board hereby accepts the resignation of Arnestia Valentine, intermediate clerk part-time, village justice court, effective August 3rd, 2018, and the resignation letter is attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 181, Steve.
181. Did we change?
I'm sorry.
179.
179.
So now, should we combine 79 and 80 since it's the same dollar amounts and the
Separate
opposing?
fiscal years. We're actually closing from one
One
to
is-
the other.
one
'cause
is-
Okay, we can read them
strong
both
runs
then. All
mid-year.
right, fair enough. I
If
just
you
thought
would
it might
like
be-
to read them both, you're welcome.
I don't need to read them both,
No,
but they're
I
the
think
same.
that-
You
yes.
think I should read them?
Feel free. 178 first. 179. I'll get the number.
79. It's okay. Resolved that the following budget amendments are hereby approved as listed below. We're decreasing revenue and expense accounts for the general fund in fiscal year ending 2018. The amount is $50,659.59 from the revenue account DFC Pleasantville Strong, and a series of expenditure accounts moving that money in different chunks over to DFC part-time of $0, $3,364.50 to Pville Strong DFC Conference. Everything will be Pleasantville Strong DFC something. $2,435.57 to supplies, $9,336.66 to DFC miscellaneous, $35,522.86 to outside services, 0 to Social Security, and 0 to Medicare. And then, shall I do this? Oh, we have to
Got to
vote
do
on
this one. Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Steve, 180.
And then, the same $50,659.59, increasing revenue and expense accounts for general fund fiscal year ending 2019. I'll read the resolution. Resolved that the following budget amendments are hereby approved as listed below. Those same accounts as we just listed, the other way. $3,364.50.
I don't know what you need. You gotta say it
As
stated in the
further
record.
stated in the record, the numbers are the same on either side, switching from one fiscal year to the other.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Again, so this is just taking these, applying these to the correct fiscal year.
Yes, because the strong fiscal year ends September 30th.
They're off.
This is also, this is all money that came through the Pleasantville Strong grant money, right? This is not even tax dollars. This is grant money that we received that we're the administrator of. Isn't that right? Am
Yes.
I wrong? Right.
It's federal tax dollars.
Just a quick question. Why are we closing out $0 accounts?
We had to show them on the budget because they existed in the grant year one,
Got it. So we have to carry them through?
even if we didn't fund
So
them in
they're-
prior years.
They're, got it.
So
They're
it's money that we
empty
had left-
budget lines.
And it's money that we had left over from last fiscal year, we're putting into the current fiscal year, and that's the money that we're moving.
Right, because we're still active in the grant year, goes till the end of September.
Right.
But our fiscal year ended, so we need to show
And even those,
that it rolled.
even though those budget lines were 0, we still have to carry them through, right? Okay, through the end of the grant.
All right, any
Thank
other
you.
questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 181, Joe.
Resolved that the pre-check register dated August 13, 2018, covering check numbers 90506 to 90736 is hereby approved as listed below from the general fund, the special purpose fund, water fund, capital fund, refuse fund, trust fund for a total of $479,830.56. And a copy of the check register and credit card fees and refunds that are part of this is attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions on the check register?
How much of the music fest have we rolled in?
We're almost done with
Almost
all
done with
the
it?
expenses. Yep.
Okay.
All right, All in favor of 181, pre-check
Aye.
register?
Aye.
Motion approved. 182, David.
Resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby schedules a public hearing on August 27th, 2018 at 8 p.m. in the meeting room of Village Hall at 80 Wheeler Avenue to consider local law introductory number 5 of 2018 to create Chapter 166 Taxation, Article 10 of the Village Code concerning real property assessment of converted condominiums, description attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, you want to give the summary of this?
Sure. So, a municipality in Westchester had a homeowners association from a condo petition New York State to convert their tax rates. A fee simple homeowners association, which has the highest amount of property taxes, petitioned the state to be converted to condo rate, which is a fraction of the amount that fee simple units are taxed at. So that set off warning bells across Westchester County. We've been advised to pass a resolution that defines those properties that we consider condo rate. The school district has also been advised to do the same, and they'll be moving on that at their next meeting and starting that process as well. So in the weeks, months ahead, I presume that you'll be seeing a lot of other villages and towns moving on this.
And this doesn't impact existing condominiums. It would only impact anyone who petitions to convert from fee simple ownership to condominium after this is adopted, if we adopt it.
From condo, right.
From free simple to
From
condo.
free to
Free-
condo.
yeah.
I mean,
correct.
the move on the part of the incident, it's happened a few places around, I think in New York State, is even in some cases a conventional subdivision with freestanding homes that are owned fee simple. Imagine that assembling them into a homeowners association and converting to condo ownership could
Right.
potentially dramatically change their taxes. So
Sure.
we're in this weird circumstance that is a feature of New York State law that condominiums are very significantly advantaged in the property tax structure, and a condominium of hypothetically $400,000 market value is likely to pay significantly less taxes than a single-family home of the same $400,000 value.
I mean,
So-
theoretically, a group of houses, you get 4 neighbors that want to do it, they can do it and say, hey, we'll just have a fund that'll take care of our lawn maintenance and our roofs and, whatever, just like a condominium. Theoretically, I guess, could be done.
And with the loss of the SALT deductions, I mean,
Yeah. They're
So at
going
any
to look
rate,
at it.
As just to recap, the resolution schedules a public hearing on August 27 at 8 p.m. Is there everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. 183, Nicole.
Scheduling a public hearing local law, Resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby schedules a public hearing on August 27th, 2018 at 8 p.m. in the meeting room of Village Hall at 80 Wheeler Avenue to consider local law introductory number 6 of 2018 to amend Chapter 148 Signs and Outdoor Display Structures, Section 12, titled Approving Authority Concerning Variance Applications for Signs and Outdoor Display Structures.
Is there a second?
Second.
Eric, you want to give the summary on this?
sure. So this was an initiative that Patty and Robert, our building inspector, were working on. There was not a clearly defined appeals process for signage. And so this identifies the ARB as being that board that a homeowner or business can take their appeal to. So it would go to the Architectural Review Board for review. If the applicant doesn't like that decision, then it defaults to the village board.
How did we, I don't know if it was you or Robert or Patty, decide on it being the Architectural Review Board to be the appropriate board to do that?
In other municipalities, that's the process.
And they are the board that addresses signs. So
Right,
Aesthetic.
but I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't hold a public hearing, I'm just wondering out aloud. We have a zoning code, we adopt that, but there's a zoning board of appeals that you go to for a variance. That seems like the logical board. So just because the ARB addresses signs, we adopt laws, I would think it would be the zoning board of appeals, or maybe us directly.
I don't think, I mean, the zoning board of appeals is a rather different venture. Most of the appeals and the requests for variances or change to exceed the rules are based on the physical condition of the building, the physical circumstances, a desire to do something that wasn't anticipated in the code but is good. And having years ago been a member of the ARB and having watched on the sidelines many times our ARB and many others grapple with these issues. Sign codes are difficult to write. Ours is a clear manifestation of that. It needs a start from scratch overhaul.
I suppose that's right.
That's a fairly significant project that we have yet to get to, but I do think the ARB is the right place for it.
Okay. I hadn't thought about it, and I read
Yeah.
this. I read this on Friday, and then again today, and I'm thinking it over, and that's
Well,
kind of it.
more to say at the public hearing.
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
approved. So 2 public hearings on the 27th. 184, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from Sunnyside Avenue residents to close the road from address number 49 to 121 for a block party on Saturday, September 8th, 2018, from 1 to 8 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, September 9th, 2018.
The application, is there a second?
Second.
The application with neighbor signatures is appended. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 185, John.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the meeting held on July 9th, 2018. Minutes attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Long discussion included in these minutes on a couple of different subjects. No comments or corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. David, 186.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the minutes of the meeting held on July 23rd, 2018, attached.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Nicole, 187.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village attorney to proceed with the settlement of certiorari petition by Generation 3 Properties LLC as designated on the official tax map as section 106.6 block 5 lot 4 as follows. So it's goes from 2010 to 2014 for a total refund amount of $18,116.99. And further resolved that the village treasurer is authorized to issue the applicable refunds in the amount of $18,116.99 to the petitioner's attorney upon receipt of an executed order from the court.
Is there a second?
Second.
This location, 460 Bedford Road, is Tudor time, am I correct?
Yes.
Right. So it's been a subject discussion before and advice of counsel. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. That's the last of our regular matters. Does anyone have new business? Or is there any comment from the public? All right. Is there a motion to go into executive session on a personnel matter and a real estate matter?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. See you in 2 weeks. And thanks again to the folks who visited us from Scarsdale. An extraordinarily good presentation, and I think all of us felt positive about moving forward in their model. So thank you all and good night.